Call to order. Roll call.
Here.
Commissioner Oravecz? Here. Commissioner Postufka?
Here.
Commissioner Sray? Here.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Number 5, public comment for agenda items only. Do we have any public comment? Okay. Correspondence, 6A, library report.
Yep. Ben, do you want to say anything on behalf of the library? We have your report that you submitted for October, but you're welcome to share anything additional if you'd like.
Yeah, I don't think so. If there's any questions, let me know.
Great.
Thank you, Ben.
Yeah. We also received reports from Oak Ridge Volunteer Fire Department and Southbridge EMS. Dan Miller from Southbridge gave his regrets. He has a commitment this evening, can't make it. And a letter from the SHACOG just thanking the board for their ad at their annual dinner.
Thanks, John. That got us all the way to 7.
There we go.
Okay, calendar items, approval of minutes.
I can make that motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that. Oh, go ahead, Becky.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Payment of bills.
I'll make that motion. I don't think we need to review it.
Okay, I have the top 5 if you want to hear what the largest bills are this month. We have our debt service payments, both the principal and the interest for our existing bond. We have our health insurance payments from MEIT that are about $107,000. We have a payment to DeMarco Construction, $41,986. This is the last payment to them, so this would be their retainage. They've satisfied all their requirements there. And we have a payment to Northeast Paving. These are for materials that Public Works used on the paving of Cecil Sturgeon roadway.
Okay. So do we have a motion to approve the payment of bills?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Financial reports.
Yeah, I can be relatively brief. I know we're going to talk about next year's budget a little later on, but just looking at the general fund's revenue and expenditure report, a few items to point out. On the revenue side, we've been keeping a close eye on the real estate tax revenue. We're slightly under budget. We're about $233,000 under budget. So we're hopeful that we're going to get to our budget target of $7.8 million. The past month has not brought in any additional tax revenue, so we're hoping that the last quarter might get another push to get us there. It also could be a reflection of the assessment appeals that we've had some discussion about over the last many months. Also want to comment on the real estate transfer tax. That's an indicator that, going into this year, we were looking at very closely. 2023 had a pretty significant reduction in that tax, so we were concerned about it. I guess the good news there is we've seen a strong uptick there. We had a budget target of $600,000, and we're at $836 for the year, with still 2 months to go. So we're hoping that we can return to pre-COVID form in that indicator. If you look just at how revenues and expenditures are trending, we are we are well under our expenditure budget targets, so we should end the year with a surplus.
Okay. So we have the motion to approve the financial reports.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor? Oh, we got a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bank balances, John?
Yeah, just a few items to note. The general fund, $5.5 million. I mentioned that the real estate tax has really slowed. So, we're still getting, the Act 511 taxes, but we need that to carry us into first quarter next year. We are hoping that we can get a transfer out of the general fund into the capital reserve to get it to hit our fund balance targets. You can see on the balances that the capital reserve is under 100,000 at this point. So before year end, we'll try to true that up so we don't get dinged for that on our audit. But these are largely here just for transparency's sake.
Okay. Do I need a motion to approve the bank balances?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 8, liaison reports. Public safety. Chuck can't be with us tonight. He's out of town on business. It's always nice to see his parents, though. Thanks for representing. So, public infrastructure and service.
That would be me. I wasn't able to attend the meeting, but I have really nothing to report, so.
Okay. Finance and administration.
So I attended the, well, actually, the SHACOG meeting this month was actually their annual dinner, so it was not really much discussed. It was more of a celebration, so nothing to report on that front. And we've already gone through the finances, so.
Okay. Intergovernmental relations, that's me. I had the chance to go down to the Water Authority municipal meeting. It's they did their budget. You ran a tight ship there, John. It was impressive. And then on from the school board side, we're trying to get a meeting with Dr. Miller and some of the school board members and a couple of commissioners to go ahead and find a way that we could work closely together and improve that working relationship, but that's all I have. Community in economic development.
Sure, just a couple things. I was at the Parks and Rec meeting. Was that last week?
Yeah.
I can't, time flies anymore. It's Tuesday, and things are going great at Fairview. Obviously going to get in the turf fields and baseballs up and running there, and also working, as we've been discussing, on the affordability of the South Fayette Rec Center. Still working on that and potential options as well. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Number 9, old and unfinished business.
Only thing that I'd add there is we have advertised for board and commission members. So those are still open. We have reached out to incumbents, and we'll share with you guys kind of where we're staying with those items, and maybe make some appointments either next month or in January.
Okay. On to new business. 10A, discuss and consider SP-05-2024, the Wembley Club, preliminary and final land development application, parcel 256-K-20. Zone PED, development of 4.16 acre lot in Newberry for a 3-story gym and sports complex, including pickleball and tennis courts. God bless you, Chief.
Tell them a little bit about what you do now and what you're going to bring to South Fayette.
Sure. My name's David Barr. I'm the owner of the Wembley Club in Chagrin Falls, Ohio. We're just outside of east of Cleveland, just about 2 hours from here. And we have a club that we like to bring to South Fayette. We're very excited about it. It's a fitness club, a pickleball club primarily. We have other things that we do as well. There's tutoring on site and various other ancillary services. But for the most part, our bread and butter is fitness and pickleball. And I think we're known in our community for being exceptionally social. It's different than other fitness clubs. There are a lot of fitness places like a Planet Fitness or LA Fitness where people basically go and work out on their own and go home probably without talking to anybody. We're the interactive place. We're very social. We have 85 group fitness classes per week. We anticipate having at least that or probably more here. Things like yoga and spin, TRX class. We have a boxing workout, all kinds of different ways to work out. And it's very, very social. It's not just a workout experience, but people come and it's an hour of exercise and being with friends as well. So the pickleball is very similar. It's a social sport. It's an interactive sport, and so we're a community-based exercise experience, and that's what we do. And we're very excited about bringing that into South Fayette here.
So I'll jump in. This is Tyson Miller, KU Resources, the site civil engineer. So the project is located within Newberry. It's on a parcel that's a little over 4 acres. If you could bring up the site plan, please. It's an existing vacant lot. It's located just west of BJ's, so just along that northern property line.
Everyone's got the sniffles.
Is where the BJ's gas station is and the BJ's Wholesale Club. So this site is bounded by Miller's Run on the left-hand side and by the railroad tracks on the right-hand side. If you can go to the next one, please. So as you can see, the footprint of the proposed club, as David mentioned, it's a multi-story, and we can go back to the architectural renderings. Just, to kind of get a sense of that, so there's multiple floor heights in there just to accommodate the tennis and the pickleball heights. If you can flip back to the site plan real quick,
Where's BJ's on that, Tyson? I'm trying to figure out where we are,
if you don't mind.
just so I can get some.
So right in there is where the gas station is, and then
Oh.
just up above is where the building would be.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, yeah,
So this is not.
the little U-shaped parking on the right-hand side, again, is right opposite of the gasoline canopy, and kind of right opposite of our realigned driveway is pretty close to the roadway that comes along the face of BJ's. They're not quite plussed up, but they're pretty close. So we made some changes to the site plan through the process. We were able to the existing, for those of you who may know, at one point in time there was a hotel plan for this parcel. About 2 or 3 years ago, we had proposed on that, so that fell through. This is the proposed development now, and just because of how the site has morphed over the years, some of the roads aren't in quite the right places, so we're realigning some of the roads here to make it a little bit safer compared to what actually is paved out there today. That actually allowed us to get a little bit more parking in the front. So the site's encumbered by the floodway and the floodplain, so the building is really kind of squeezed into the buildable area. We were granted several variances by the zoning hearing board, one of which was for parking, although as I mentioned, we were able to add a couple of more spaces to the site plan since we had the variance application. We did add some sidewalks in this most recent iteration based on the township engineer's comments just along that right-hand side. So, you could eventually walk from Newberry Market Drive. There's not a sidewalk now on the opposite side of BJ's parking lot, but when that last piece gets developed, there could be sidewalk connectivity really all the way from the shops area in through and back to this location. And there's some other connectivity things that are happening separate from this development. In any event, so parking lot landscaping, utilities. A lot of the utilities are already to the site. As I said, since it was planned to be a different building previously. We can get into other aspects of the site plan, but it's kind of an unusual an unusual lot shape. So we're kind of shoehorning the parking in the building in as best we can based on that existing parcel. But yeah, can talk if you want to flip to Jason to get some other commentary, and I can answer any questions.
As Tyson had noted, prior to the land development submittal, the project had previously gone to the zoning hearing board and was successful in getting 4 variances 3 for setbacks, 1 for parking. Thank you. We reviewed the plan, issued an initial review letter of October the 11th. They submitted revised plans in response to comments. In response to our letter, we reviewed that second submittal and have a letter dated November the 12th. They've addressed all of our items. The only outstanding item of note was, and I just want to concur with Tyson, that you don't have any issue with the fire department's comments that are in our letter. As far as addressing, you had previously put the requested hydrant in, and they had also asked that you consider a standpipe for the interior of the building, and that was.
Yeah, so we've relayed that request to the architect and the MEP team, and I'll let them comment on that. But I personally don't have an objection. We'll work through that as it relates to the code, and then we have some other third-party approvals we're still working on, but ultimately, happy to answer any questions.
I also want to note that Allegheny County had also supplied a review letter, and they had no comments on the plan.
Thanks, Jason. So I need a motion to approve SP 05-2024, the Wembley Club, and the attached documents.
And I just have one question before we get a motion to the engineer. So the approval would be appropriate, there's no modifications to that approval at this time?
Correct.
That's fine, that's what I assumed, but I just wanted to be clear.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Thanks.
10B, discuss and consider S-08-2024 Hickory Grade Road preliminary and minor subdivision application. Parcel 256-S-6, Zone C2, small portion Piazza planned shopping center parcel to be conveyed to South Fayette Township for the purpose of future road widening project on Hickory Grade Road.
Yeah, so before, the engineer may have some comments that he'd like to make, but prior to that, just for everybody's aware, this is a piece of property that has been in discussion for years for this project. Mr. Scalo has donated that property for $1 back to the municipality to assist in this endeavor when the township is prepared to move forward. So we're trying to get everything in line. Once we're gonna have to do a study, I'm assuming here yet, before we get a final project design. But at this point, it's just to get all of the pieces to the puzzle, therefore we can move forward.
That's correct, Gary. So this active subdivision will enable the Hickory Grade Road widening project to take place. As Gary mentioned, it's about a 10-foot by 106-foot long street dedication for the future widening. Total square footage of dedicated right-of-way is approximately 961 feet, or 0.02 acres. We provided a review letter dated October the 21st. We have no outstanding comments, and the county reviewed this and had no comments as well.
Thank you. So do I have a motion to approve S-08-2024 and all the attached documents?
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
10C, discuss and consider approving Resolution 2024-24, transfer of liquor license from Giant Eagle Inc. to Get Go Operating LLC, 3029 Washington Pike.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
10D, discuss and consider Resolution 2024-25, adopting the Emergency Operations Plan.
Yeah, this is a little bit of housekeeping. We are obligated to revise and adopt this plan periodically. I know Commissioner Lazzini's not here, but we had an opportunity to talk with the new emergency management coordinator, and he spent some time going through the old plan and updating it. I know that after we adopt the plan, he does intend to have some tabletop exercises that would likely include at least some members of the board, so you can kind of see how it all rolls out. But this is largely just some housekeeping. The plan itself is not attached to this. I think it's kind of meant to be preserved and discreet at this moment, but the resolution in front of you will be sent to the county and kind of incorporated into the countywide emergency operations plan.
Do I have a motion to approve 10D, the adopting the Emergency Operation Plan and the attached document?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 10E, discuss and consider a motion to approve pay app number 2 for Stash Contracting in the amount of $6,982.50 for the community center site demolition project.
We did ask our engineer to review the pay app. They verified that all the work on the pay app has been completed. And maybe just a side note for you guys, you might be wondering, why the building's still standing.
Yeah, I was wondering, I was just gonna ask that.
I shouldn't laugh. The contractor had an unfortunate accident. The owner of Stash Contracting was in a vehicle accident and is currently hospitalized. So there's going to be a little delay in completing the work. He does have adult sons that work for the company as well that intend to complete the project, but it might be a little further delayed. But the pay app that you're seeing this evening is for work that has been completed.
Yeah, I can make that motion.
Yep.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. I don't want to be like Chuck and skip one. Yeah, I was good. That's good at 10G.
First place.
Discuss and consider,
No, F.
see, I said, I jinxed myself. 10F, discuss and consider a motion to approve pay app forward to Malley and Sons, Inc. in the amount of $36,230.62 for the paving program.
Jason, anything to comment on here?
No, we reviewed that, obviously we support it. There is a little bit more work to do, which is gonna take place next week.
Okay, so this is not the final pay app, but,
Correct.
okay.
Motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we'll go to 10G. Discuss and consider a bond reduction in the amount of $806,550.71 for the Apex Newberry project, leaving a remaining balance of $1,812,131.16.
Again, we've reviewed this, we supported it. Actually, the initial request was slightly higher. We did revise it with the developer, and this is our recommendation.
Do you recall what they asked for that we didn't?
It was just
Wouldn't
his
approve.
basic
Just
quantities on
amounts.
earth moving and whatnot. So, I mean, it was just a slight reduction from what they initially asked for.
Do we have a motion to approve?
I just have a question on that project. I mean, is it moving forward as planned? I saw they're doing is it the banks for elevators? So like
Yes.
two big, okay, that's what that is.
It is.
Okay.
It is moving forward. No request. I mean, they've contemplated some revision to the site along the way, but
Okay.
they basically stuck with the initial plan, and that's where it is today.
Okay. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
10H, discuss and consider advertising an ordinance updating the South Fayette Athletic Association bylaws.
Yeah, Paula, I know you've taken the lead on this. You want to brief the board on what you've done?
Yeah, sure. So it is a recommendation from the Parks and Rec Board for this updated ordinance. The Athletic Association was formed several years ago, and there's some things in the existing ordinance that are kind of obsolete. There's like a treasurer position, and we don't have a bank account. So this is like stripping it down to the bare bones. We actually currently don't have anyone on the board because there was not an election held in January. So this is stripping it down and allowing the Parks and Rec Board to appoint 3 people for a single term, so for next year. And that then they will dive into this and really update these bylaws to make the organization really benefit for us and them. Over the past couple of years, we've had some, unfortunate events with them. So it's to update this ordinance to kind of help protect them and help us work with them better too. Any questions?
I do.
Yeah.
So when we appoint, it's 3 people for 1-year terms, and then would they always be coming up for renewal at the same time?
So I think that's what they're going to look into the bylaws of how
Okay,
to
how
prevent
to-
that,
yeah.
because that's what has happened in the past. So it's those 3 people fixing all those kind of things.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make that motion.
Anything else?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
10I, discuss and consider a motion to advertise the 2025 general fund in capital budget.
Yeah, so First Class Township Code does require the township to adopt a budget by the end of the year, a balanced budget, and that budget has to be on display for at least 20 days. So we're looking to accomplish that this evening. Do you want to pull up the PowerPoint? I thought I'd just do high-level overview for the board and the audience. The budget in its entirety is also included on the agenda and will be on display. We'll have it here at the building for anyone that wants to have a look at it. I believe we'll also put it on our website so people can access it as well. Currently, it is a $19,324,000 spending plan, and this has been kind of a process, a group effort here that started with myself and staff, department heads. We have had 3 workshops that have been open to the public to kind of refine this even further. and numerous discussions amongst the group up here to get it in its final shape. And I think ultimately what we're seeing here is a budget that, you know, maintains service levels across all departments. We started this process with a deficit, and you know, working with the board, there were it was clear that there was not really an interest in seeking, you know, ways to balance a budget that would reduce service levels. So we've maintained all service levels and have found a way to provide sustainable revenue support for our capital infrastructure. The budget does require a 1.25 mil increase to the real estate tax. That's going to result in an additional $2 million in revenue, roughly. And we intend to use those monies to pay for and support our capital program, right? So while this is our general fund budget and we're looking for additional real estate tax, the funds that we're seeking are really just so we can continue to have roads and bridges and park improvements that we seek. There are a couple factors that, you know, led to this, and it's probably important to, you know, share with everyone what kind of budgetary pressures we experienced before we came to this decision, because no one went into this process wanting to raise taxes or to look at increasing the millage rate. So we tried hard to explore just about every option, but you know, we've said it a number of times over the past year or so, but the increase from waste management has been really tough to bear. You know, we have a cost right now. Our solid waste costs entering the next year are $750,000 higher than at the end of our 23 contract. So we're in year one of a 5-year contract, and we'll see a 58% increase through those 5 years on solid waste. So solid waste is something that is paid for through the general fund. We don't seek a fee from residents or additional support from residents for that. That does come out of your tax package, so it's absorbed in this bill. In addition, I mean, that's the driving reason, not the only reason. You know, our operating costs in general have increased, whether that be through you know, goods and services that Public Works use or that the police rely upon, or our insurances, or even our collective bargaining agreements. All of those factors kind of just really outpaced the real estate growth, or the real estate tax growth. Compounding that a little bit has been our the county-wide assessment appeals that we've seen this year. I mentioned in our in the quick revenue and expenditure report how tax revenues are slightly down, challenged to meet that budget item. Each month we're approving assessment appeals that have been already authorized by the county and the Board of Viewers. So, and we anticipate that growing. I think in our 25 budget, we have a line item of $100,000 to offset those additional assessment appeals that we're contemplating, and that is really on top of the assessed values already going down. So that combined with the rising costs are really what led to this. And I think it's also important to note, you know, kind of what we explored before looking at the real estate tax. Because trash was such a big part of this discussion, I know this board looked long and hard at a potential fee to be imposed on residents, and we did a lot of analytics on that, and ultimately determined that if we were to do that, the burden to the individual taxpayer would be higher, because the commercial side of our township wouldn't pay into that, right? So that burden would be entirely placed on the residents, whereby through the real estate tax, that is something that our business community does pay into. So that helped to keep the out-of-pocket expense lower in our view. And we also, you know, as I said previously, kind of determined that departmental cuts are not replacing folks that retire, whether they're in police or public works or admin, just wasn't an option. We're, you know, a growing township and just had to keep pace with that. So how will those monies be put to use? I mean, just about all of the additional funds that come from this increase will go into the capital reserve. We have bridge repairs that are costly. There are 5 bridges that have been identified that are needing to be replaced over the next 5 to 10 years. All of them have a high price tag. We want to maintain our commitment to road paving. We've increased the level of paving from, just 5 years ago. We were, spending less than $500,000 a year and using low-cost methods like tar and chipping. We've really ramped that up to, $1.2 million a year annually in this budget. And on top of that, we're seeking out roadway improvement projects. We have a project launching in January to rehab and recreate a safer environment on Mohawk Road. So things like that are very costly and will be supported through this. In addition, additional park improvements will be included in the 5-year plan that can be paid for with this increase. We're looking at the potential of rehabbing our public works facility, our facility on Millers Run Road where our library and our seniors are, looking at potential of making improvements there so that it can be brought up to code and up to date. And then, our public works vehicles, trucks, and equipment. It's very important that these guys have the tools necessary to keep up with additional roads, with winter maintenance, with vegetation and trees on the side of the road, those kind of things. In addition to, stormwater mandates, we have a pollutant reduction plan that requires us to invest, hundreds of thousands of dollars into the elimination of sediment in our streams, and clean water is very important to us. So, we're going to continue to make those investments, and this will allow us to do that. We did also include for you just kind of a breakdown of the 2025 capital program, so you could get a sense of where we're looking to focus our revenues or our spending next year on the capital side of things. We broke them down into departments. On the the first slide there shows the revenues, right? So you can see we also have sought and received grants to offset these costs. In 2025, we plan on having $3.1 million available in grants to offset the costs of some of our park projects. We have a borrowing that we've committed to previously that has funds available for capital projects. The general fund is available, as well as our liquid fuels account. So all told, in 25, we have about $16.2 million available for capital projects. Looking at the administrative capital needs, about $3.9 million in projects. Some of these, the largest expense there shows up as a rehab to the former municipal center. Now, this is by no means a final number or a refined number. This is a best guesstimate. We're going to spend some time over the next few months here to really understand what the cost would be to rehab that facility, have some discussions with the library and with the seniors about what that might look like, and work with the board here to get a plan together that's responsible and makes sense. If we look at Parks and Rec in 2025, the ball fields that we spoke about previously, $1.5 million in new ball fields. A lot of this expense is covered with grants that is accounted for in the revenue side of things. Our Fairview Trail Network, it's showing up here as a $300,000 expense, but we did get a little bit of good news recently. We've got some additional grant dollars, so we can expand that program to not just include trails on the side of road, but also through the park in a more wooded setting to get us down to Mayview Road eventually. And a lot of that will be offset with grant dollars as well. We want to also look at the multi-purpose fields in Fairview to have turf as well. There are grants involved with that. And then we don't want to lose sight of the smaller park projects, so resurfacing tennis courts, signage in the parks, and also keeping money available for just future planning and design is included there. Changing gears to the police. police, their capital needs are, by comparison, not as large. 125,000 in police projects, largely tactical gear, equipment upgrades, and IT projects. Some cameras and ammunition and rifles, things of that nature, totaling 125 next year. Public Works a little more significant. We also included a placeholder, if you will, for potential rehab of their facility, as well as equipment and vehicle upgrades. I know Vitali's done a pretty good job of costing out really all of our future equipment needs. And what are your major purchases next year on the equipment side of things?
On the equipment side of things, as I previously mentioned today, we received unforeseen failure of the sidearm, but I'm looking at either to get sidearm replacement with different machine, but from a fleet replacement standpoint, I'm planning to purchase two truck. One would be 1 ton, equivalent to F550, 600, and one larger truck, like an international bigger chassis, so we can.
Right.
Yeah, so it'll be specialized equipment, and then one 550 or 600 and larger truck. So 3 pieces of equipment I'm planning to.
Thank you. Yeah.
Replace.
And we did share with the board there is, kind of a multi-year rescheduling or schedule of those replacement costs. So we're trying to stay on top of that and make sure that those guys have everything they need to take care of the infrastructure. Looking at infrastructure, we have $1.2 million in roads. We have a traffic signal upgrade at Washington Pike and Twin Ponds, which is near the Giant Eagle. That'll get all of our signals on the adaptive plan. I mentioned the stormwater PRP plan. We have money set aside for that, as well as Mohawk Road, and we want to at least do something with our active transportation plan. We spent some time on the program there and want to make sure that we don't just leave it on the shelf. So all said and told, that I think that totals about 11.5 million in capital projects next year, 11.2. So our goal is to, that's obviously less than the revenues that I had mentioned we'll have. That coupled with the sustainable real estate tax bump that you guys have given us will allow us to just build that capital reserve back up to where it needs to be, so we can do more and have the ability to stay on top of things. So unless there's questions, I'll pause there. Yeah.
We have a motion to,
Actually, wait, sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
Shocker.
No.
It's all way over. I know. So the sidearm that you were talking, that failed today?
No, but well, initially I was planning to replace our bucket truck, which
Right.
is almost 50 years
39,
old.
yeah.
Yes, but a couple of weeks ago, during our operation of mowing and cutting the right-of-way, sidearm, an entire sidearm broke away from a chassis. So it's one of the major failure.
Nobody got hurt, right?
No, nobody got hurt. So we're trying to play a blame game on the vendor, but the vendor said they did some of their investigation. They said it's a maintenance item. A few of the bolts that we supposed to look have been overlooked because they were hitting. So anyway, the bolts snapped off, which caused an entire attachment disattached from a tractor. Yeah, so fall off. So now it's a $24,000 just to repair it. So I'm looking at the multiple options. Option number 1, trade in as is. Number 2, fix it and keep it or sell it. Get the trade-in value as a fixed piece of equipment. Option number 3, to install different manufacturer sidearm. Instead of Diamond, have a Tiger. They are supposed to be higher quality. If numbers won't make sense, then I'm planning to purchase, let's call it a excavator, like on the 4 wheels, that it can do multiple options, multiple tasks. It can do it can dig, it can do trim, it can do multiple, like a multi-purpose tool. If we can fix it, existing sidearm, so they will probably go back to original plan, replace the bucket truck. And two trucks I would like to replace next year as a part of our replacement plan. Which is, I appreciate that you guys strongly
Oh, it's definitely
consider
needed. I
that.
was down there looking.
Thank you, thank you so much.
Yeah, you guys have done a lot. It's impressive, 39 years. I think that's gotta be a record on a bucket truck.
Well, yeah, I'm looking.
That's
I'm
impressive.
I'm looking ahead.
Okay,
You good?
yes.
Need a motion to approve the
And
advertising?
just for the community's aware, this is not approving a budget at this point. This is approving a temporary proposed budget for display. It will have to come before the board at the next meeting to be finally approved.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
10J, discuss and consider a tax refund request for the owner of 502 Cypress Court in the amount of $202.46.
Pat, you were working on this. You want to comment?
Yes, there was an address issue with this resident, and he didn't get his tax notice in time, and I got the correct note. I got it updated with the county, and everything's taken care of, so.
Thanks for doing that. I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
10K, discuss and consider tax refunds from Kevin Biber.
Looks like there's about $9,000 in refunds. These are for appeals that have gone through the process with the county and have, a new value has been assigned to them.
Okay. Make a motion?
I'll make that motion. I'll just keep going.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
10L, discussion of potential ordinance to regulate renewable energy systems.
I'll start here. This is meant for discussion, not looking for action from the board this evening. We've recently took some calls at the township regarding what I'll call a solar farm, or the interest in installing an array of solar, and we really don't have any type of regulation or ordinance that in our existing code that deals with this. So we think that it's probably a good idea for us to go down that path and create some rules and regulations that would address this type of activity. This would be beyond, someone wanting to put solar panels on a roof. This would be more for someone looking to use solar energy in a commercial way, selling the power back to the grid, that kind of a thing. The thought that we've had thus far, we did a little research around the county and the region, and found a few ordinances that we liked. One that we think might have a good application here breaks these things into small and large based upon size, and has kind of different regs for smaller or larger. We think it's still important to include things like setbacks and height requirements, as well as considering lot coverage on a property. But one of the things that we really probably need some feedback on from the board is just what areas or what parts of the community are most conducive to this, or appropriate for it, and what parts should be protected from it. So, it's nothing that you really need to tell me this evening. Obviously, if you have some opinions, we want to hear about them. But we're looking for some feedback of, what zoning districts do we think it would make sense to include, and what zoning districts maybe it might not make as much sense to include. Largely, do we want them in residential neighborhoods, or do we want to keep them out of residential neighborhoods? And then once we go down that path, if we've been working with Gary's office on a draft ordinance. Once we get that into a condition that we think is ready to be presented, the path we would take is, present it to the board. We would, open it up to the public, have a hearing on it, and then look to, advertise and adopt it when we get to that point. We're still in the infancy stages with this, so it's probably gonna take us a few months to get it to that point, but we'll get that draft ordinance out to you guys, let you look through it, give some thought to where you think it makes the most sense, and then just advance it from there.
Both L and M, that's the reason we put it on the agenda this evening, for the public knows that these are items that are going to come in the future, and we're trying to be a little bit in advance where people can give input if they believe that they'd like to. This ordinance, clearly, this renewable energy, you're starting to see some of these type of farms where people have vacant properties that they're putting them in.
Where are these at? Sorry.
I've
I
seen
mean, just, you see, okay.
just generally, they're starting to come to western Pennsylvania. More of them started out west, just because I'm assuming that the amount of sunlight there. But we're starting to see them in certain places that people are using that to lease their property to these type of farms. It's really a big commitment, because it's a 30-year commitment that property is not going to be changed. And it's much different when you see panels.
What's a
just
solar
sitting out
farm,
there.
right? I mean, a
It's
solar farm.
That's exactly what they are.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make sure if the community had input, both positive and negative, that they had the opportunity to provide that.
I have another, are we benchmarking, have other townships, like surrounding townships? I'm not saying we don't need to do it, we definitely do,
Yeah.
just because
There
I,
have been some, that's correct.
Yeah.
Oh,
Most
okay.
townships, you have to remember where we're at here. If you start looking at other parts of Allegheny County, maybe not as many, because they don't have, most of Allegheny County does not have broad sections of property to be able to do that, but there are some municipalities around that have started to address this issue.
Collier has one right now.
okay.
So we took a look at their ordinance, and then there were a few others more in the center part of the state or the eastern part of the state that we looked at as well.
Okay.
And then also too, I was just gonna mention on M, discussion of proposed amendments to chapter 240, article, I have no idea what's.
14.
You taking over now?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna mention, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna mention, so it, in terms of that, is gonna be, it's really looking to potentially make changes to the home density in R1 through R3. So it's potentially increasing minimum lot sizes for residential in South Fayette and focus more on the commercial side, so that's what that is. Thanks.
Okay.
I think both of those L and M
It's
are
for future.
informational. for
Yes,
future.
informational, just,
There won't be any action this evening.
yeah, just let you know what that is.
Okay. Let's move on to department reports. Managers report.
Great. My report's available to you guys in writing. I did touch upon the budget that we spoke about at length. One thing to bring up with you guys, I wanted to share regarding the Hastings development, Charter Homes development. The township had received a complaint, I guess you say, from a resident inside of there about the condition of the sidewalks and the ADA ramps. I believe this gentleman requires a wheelchair to get around and was commenting on how difficult it was, right? So we started by, just taking a site visit and having a look around, and thought, I think there are some problems here. We asked Jason and his team to have a look at as well, and they looked at all of the sidewalks and ramps in the community. There's 78 of them, these ramps. According to Gibson Thomas's findings, there were about 56 of them that were non-compliant, meaning they either had slope issues or other issues that put them out of compliance with ADA. We shared that information with the developer and asked them to give us a plan for how they intend to deal with it. We had a site visit meeting with them probably about a week ago, maybe a little longer, and we walked through the development. They shared with us that, a number of them, they kind of agreed, hey, these are construction issues and we'll address them. There were another chunk of them that they thought, while they don't comply with ADA, they do comply with something called the Public Right-of-Way Accessibility Guidelines, which are technical guidelines that are developed by, you know, a U.S. Access Board that are, you know, kind of meant to ensure that public spaces are indeed accessible. So this was an area that was a little foreign to us. I mean, outside of, you know, commercial building inspections where we inspect for ADA compliance, we're not really in the business of looking at sidewalks to see if they are compliant in that nature. So, you know, we asked for the developer to give us their response to our report in writing and tell us why they think they're in compliance, just so we have it, right? We also asked for a timeline on when they intend to fix the issues that they said they would fix that are related to construction. Because our ultimate goal is just to have a safe environment for everyone down there. We don't want anyone struggling to get around from an accessibility standpoint. So I bring it up to the board just to give you an update of, you know, what we've been doing to address this issue. We'll continue to bring it up to speed. Once we get that report back from the developer, we'll share it with you guys, let you know where it stands. Gary, I don't know if you have any other feedback on that from a legal standpoint, if there's anything that more we need to be doing, or?
At this point, I think we would move forward to address this.
Okay. I touched upon both the renewable energy and the open space discussion that we covered this evening. One thing not on the agenda that I wanted to bring up, we've had discussions about the Hunting Ridge development and their struggles with the automated solid waste compliance, or, you know, just operation, I guess I should say. We did have since our last meeting here, we met with their HOA. There are a number of townhomes in Hunting Ridge with no garages, and folks are really struggling with what to do with the containers that have been given to everybody. We have worked to get them smaller containers. However, Waste Management does require them to have a container. They won't let them not have a container. The issue is twofold. One is there are a number of units that have no place to store them without a garage, especially units that are in the middle of a multi-unit townhome development, and the rear of their property abuts a hillside. So they struggle with that. The HOA has been enforcing their own regulations that does not allow them to keep the cans in the front of their units, which is putting some of these people in a real bind. We have reached out to Waste Management about the potential of altering our contract for those homes without garages. And what we think they're listening. We have a follow-up meeting with them scheduled for December, where we're going to take a look at those to see if they're willing to try a different route with us. And, you know, just wanted to bring the board up to date. I know that's been, you know, something that we've discussed more than once, but hopefully we're making a little bit of progress there. Lastly, just want to mention that I have been working with our labor union representing the Public Works. They've requested that we just get some clarifying language in our CBA that deals with how seniority works with members of our, we split our overall DPW into two divisions, parks and streets. And our last contract did a pretty good job of trying to be thorough of providing, you know, benefits and how those two departments are impacted. One thing that kind of fell through the cracks is individuals that transfer from the Parks Division into the Streets Division, how their seniority is impacted. Agreement is currently silent on that. And I think in the union's mind, their viewpoint is if you make that transfer into another division, your seniority for purposes of overtime and for vacation scheduling should go to the bottom, but that your seniority for layoffs and overall seniority should stay based upon your hire date. So they're working on crafting some language that would address that. Once that is developed, brought to the body and acceptable to all parties, we'll ask the board to approve that as well, so we could enter into an MOU with them. Any questions for me?
No.
Thanks, John.
All right, thank you.
Assistant Manager's report.
Commissioners, I submitted my report, and if you have any questions, I'm open to them.
Just trying to make me look long-winded is what you're doing.
I am.
I'm good, Pat. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Building report, permits report.
The report's given to you guys. We can take a look at how it breaks down residential and commercial this month. This month, very little on the commercial side. I think we just had 2 permits issued on the commercial side, both on South Point Drive down the hill here for renovations and for an alarm. The majority of them were on the residential side. You look at our fees for the year, still very strong in both categories, both far surpassing our 23 numbers. So it's been a good year from a permit fee standpoint.
Okay. Thanks, John. Communications and Community Development report.
Good evening, Andrea Igler, Director of Communications and Community Development. Sorry, Chief, I know I put you on the cover of my report without asking, but I like this picture. Thanks to the commissioners for participating in the event, which is pictured, which was the Chamber of Commerce event, and a building tour was part of that. So we really appreciate your being here and being part of that. Our fall issue of the magazine was mailed, taken to the post office today, so people should be seeing that in their mailboxes over the next few days. We are doing another test recording tonight of the meeting. I had a little glitch at the beginning, so I'm hoping everything is working okay. So we are, getting close to being able to have these meeting recordings going and available on demand on YouTube. And I'm looking at, I've been starting to schedule some meetings with other municipalities who have government cable channels to find out the processes, equipment, software, best practices, and things like that. On the quarterly report, quarterly communications report, I want to take the opportunity to highlight the South Fayette Connect revenues for the year. This is my 3rd quarter report, but I have my revenue figures for 2024. Our year-end revenues are the highest they've been since we've had our sponsorship advertising program, which was launched in 2016. Based on the 72 ads that we published in our in-house magazine, we generated $61,850 this year, which is more than the cost of printing and mailing the magazine. So the profits that we make from that benefit our recreation programs, those free community events such as Community Day, Joy Through Fairview that's coming up, things like that. Since we launched this program, the advertising portion of this program has generated $332,000 for the township budget. And since launch, we've seen a 1,000% increase in the amount of revenue that the magazine brings in. So this is a very important revenue source for us, and it serves, of course, also as a trusted, credible communications piece and a business development tool. And we'll be talking more about that program at Thanksgiving this Friday, which the commissioners are invited to, and I believe you've all RSVP'd to come, and it'll be a great opportunity for you. This is an invitation-only event to meet a lot of these business and organization partners we have and to learn more about our sponsorship advertising program. So we certainly look forward to seeing you there. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I'm good.
I'm good. Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Nice job.
Jason, engineer report.
Good evening again, Commissioners. Our report is part of the agenda. It's dated November the 5th. I'll go through some of the highlighted items. As I noted earlier, 2024 paving project is about complete. We have just a minor amount to complete Vitale's DPW facility in Mayview. We are working with Vitale and Township staff on next year's program so that we can have an early 2025 bid. The MS4 program, we recently completed the revised pollutant reduction plan. So the next steps for that would be to get DEP's approval, and then we can publicly advertise that plan and incorporate it. We've been working with Paula and her staff on the Fairview Park ball field projects and trails. We have a number of development projects that are in different phases of approval, and we are currently inspecting several ongoing construction projects for land developments within the township. We do have a planning commission meeting lined up for next Thursday, where we only have a few acceptance items. There's no actually plans for review. If anyone has any questions, I can elaborate.
No questions here?
Good. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Paula?
Good evening. So this month we had the accessible deer hunt. It was a big success. We had over 10 hunters through the 2 days. I want to say thank you to Public Works. They built a storage shed over at Morgan Park. You'll see it's kind of right next to their Public Works facility. Baseball is very exciting. They're going to move their stuff from those two temporary units in the parking lot into the building. They're very excited, and they are extremely excited that it has power. They can put heaters in there, so in March when they're preparing for the season, they won't be cold. They wanted me to relay that message. We had the groundbreaking for the ball fields. As Jason mentioned, we're waiting for some permits, but we signed the purchase agreement, and Field Turf is purchasing the equipment and materials. So as soon as we have that permit, it will be shovel in the ground. As John mentioned, I have some good news. We were awarded $430,000 from DCNR for Trails Through Fairview. So in conjunction with the grant we got from PennDOT, that is about $1.2 million for Trails Through Fairview. So pretty much the project is all paid for. So it's going to include, people always ask, it's going to include a path from kind of the entrance pavilion, Lafayette Pavilion, all the way up to kind of where the splash pad is, and then down to Mayview Drive, and then also some nature trails kind of up by the water towers, and then in the wooded area also down to Mayview Drive. I also then submitted a active transportation grant. This one is a grant for design work, and we're asking for to design a trailhead down on Mayview Road across from OTB, and then do some type of pedestrian improvements from that parking lot in OTB to connect to Upper St. Clair. So if we got that grant, that would be for the design work, and then we could take the design and go out also get additional funding to kind of do the physical work. You're thinking, Mark, what are you thinking?
Oh, that's awesome. I'm thinking, so if it crosses OTB, we go over to the Boyce Park trails, which I know they have like 30 miles of trails up through there on that hillside.
Mm-hmm. From OTB to the Boyce Mayview Park
So it's
trail
crossing over
is
and then
only
going up the
about
big hill?
115 feet.
Oh, okay.
So that's how close the connection is.
Oh,
So,
wow.
It's called the Perimeter Trail. It goes all around Boyce Mayview Park.
Okay.
So it'd be potentially connecting Fairview Park to Boyce Mayview Park.
Okay. That's awesome. And in terms of the trails, are they going to be, stone? They're going to be like cinder, concrete? Like what's the?
Variety.
Okay.
So the one, since we got PennDOT funding, the one along the road will be a 10-foot wide paved path directly along the road, all the way up to kind of where the splash pad is.
Wow.
And then it's kind of impossible to do ADA from the top of the hill down to Mayview. So that's going to be also paved, but not ADA and not as wide. And then in the plans, there was some plans to do some paved paths up kind of by the water tower, and then more of your like gravel or natural surface through like the wooded areas. So it'd be a real like expansive trail network of different variety of levels and difficulties.
Cool.
Yeah, so
Nice.
very exciting.
So at least you know not to use the contractor that did the ramps and the sidewalks at Hastings.
Apparently.
That's good.
Andrew mentioned we have Thanksgiving coming up, and then also tickets went live for Joy Through, which will be December 5th. 6th, thank you. Hopefully y'all can attend, or if you want to volunteer, we're always looking for help for that event. Public Works is underway, putting all the lights up. I attended one of their meetings. They were very excited to give some ideas and inputs for additional light displays, especially because this year we're going to go in from Greenwood Drive and out on Mayview. So to go one way all the way through. And people have always asked, the lights do stay up. We leave them up until after New Year's. So, even though we have the event, it's still, the lights will be up all through the month. Any questions? Nope. All right, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks, Paula. Chief?
Good evening. Couple items to talk about tonight. Our department participated in the 28th annual National Operation Safe Stop, where on the 23rd of October, our officers followed school buses throughout the township, just to kind of educate people that might have went through the lights, or, enforced kind of these, made them aware of the consequences of going through a stop, bus stops. We hosted our very first training in our new facility, our training room down there, for child abuse recognition and investigation on the 25th of October. We had over 40 officers attend. It was great training. They loved the facility. It was really nice to show off the building. On Halloween, we had our officers out in force. 11 officers were patrolling the township during trick-or-treat hours. We had one minor incident. We had a reported child missing in Sturgeon, but that child was found within 5 or 10 minutes. He had wandered away from his mother. So
Trying to get more candy.
yeah, exactly. We have the dates set and everything I've mentioned in the past for the Citizens Police Academy. It's going to be every Tuesday starting on March 11th through April 29th from 7 to 9 in our station. And we have various things scheduled for that. We're still in the planning stages of that, and that's going to be pushed out this week. There's an advertisement in the magazine, so applications are started. We also are going to host our last coffee with the chief tomorrow night from 7 to 8 over in Sturgeon Fire Hall. So anybody's invited to come if they want. Any questions? Thanks.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Public Works, Vitale.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you so much for your consideration in including into a future budgets department needs. This time I will take a little longer than the usual, maybe 5 to 10 minutes max. Andrea, page number 3, budget. Unfortunately, we are not page number 3. Yeah, we're a non-profit organization, and that's why I'm trying to use the existing budget wisely. As you can see, year to date, the biggest expenditure line item is for 38200. It's a $58,000 overage that is associated with the paving of Cecil Sturgeon Road. It's a very long-awaited project, but in order for me to improve that situation in 2020 fiscal year, I'll try to lay out the biggest project at the beginning of the year, so I can control the budget a little better. On the next page, center graph, you will see a little spike in expenditure. And on the left side, you will see the biggest contributors to that spike. So it's a project associated with a park. You'll see a vehicle and equipment maintenance, the green bar, and the pavement patching. Those are the biggest contributors to that little spike. Once again, we are implementing a new practices for athletic field maintenance. So that's why you'll see that spike. Andrea, let's jump to our highlights on page number 33 and 34. Those are the biggest projects we were working on in the past month. You can see that the retention pond at the Mayview Public Works Future Facility, the tree planting at the Boys Home Park, and the shed at the Morgan Park that Paul already mentioned. In a paving patching, as you can see the 2 pictures on page number 34, Cecil Sturgeon, long waited, before and after. And we actually received a few compliments.
Yeah, it's actually, I was on it last week. I was impressed.
Our guys did a good job.
Yeah.
Page number 35, we participated at the training aerial work platform in the scissor lift safety. That was the topic selected. in an upcoming training, December 12th, scheduled on back injuries prevention. And on the last page, 2024 upcoming project. There's a list of our priorities for month of November. That should conclude my monthly report. Do you have any questions?
I was just gonna say, it's great seeing that training in terms of, with the insurance costs and risk management, knock on wood. As I mentioned, I think 2 meetings ago, our workers' comp mod's the best in the state of Pennsylvania for all
What is it?
townships. It's the workers' compensation experience mod, is the best in the state of Pennsylvania. So we're getting like a 36% credit on our experience mods, so it's working. Nice job.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Request tracker code enforcement report.
Yeah, request tracker, kind of documents things that come through the website. A lot of them tend to be the trash and recycling pickups. This month looks like there were a number of them in the Stonegate development. We also got some speeding and some, complaints about condition of properties. If you look at the code enforcement report, there are also a number of those similar complaints on the condition of buildings or abandoned properties. I think that's one of the reasons why we're looking in 25 to add to code enforcement so that we can start being a little more proactive, have, start like a blight removal program, target areas that we know that there's abandoned homes or abandoned owners, and really try to get a little more aggressive with getting them in a better condition or getting them down if they need to get down. So that's really all I have tonight. Do you guys have any questions on request tracker or the code enforcement report?
John, I just have a couple questions on,
Sure.
I'd say maybe there's a half dozen homes in South Fayette that should be torn down.
Yep.
It's just, broken windows, no front doors, just really bad. And, obviously it's something we've talked about the last 7 or 8 months. I didn't know in terms of that process and the cost associated with it is, that's something we can really focus on in 25.
Yeah, we've discussed that a little bit. I didn't mean to-
No, go ahead,
before you joined.
please.
Okay.
We've discussed that a little bit. We'll be setting up a process to go through, get the engineer involved. We're going to need to make sure that all of them, we have documentation to show that they're in a dilapidated state.
Yep.
And we will go along with having hearings to demolish all of those.
Okay.
Then, hopefully Pat can get us some additional funding for
Yeah.
some of those, or we could designate some funding somewhere in the budget, if possible, to do some of that. Maybe get some grant funding even along the way. But if we have them already through the process, that we take them through a hearing process, when we find the funding, then we can automatically get to the demo. So
We
it
can
does
do it
take
quick.
a little bit of time to do that.
Okay.
Projects in the pipeline usually for this, because obviously our solicitor knows that, getting the consent decree and going through the courts, it's a long-winded process, unfortunately.
It takes a long time. So, for example, the house on Miller's Run, I guess it was on the list, and they put new windows in, and someone broke the windows recently, so all the windows are, I don't know if you saw that. Someone spent money to put new windows in and a new front to it, but then someone broke all the windows. I'm like, wow. It's frustrating. That's all. Thanks.
Solicitors report, Gary.
I have nothing in addition to my report for public session.
Okay, thanks, Gary. Public comment?
Hi, my name's Sue Cagney, and is your name Jason? I have a question for you. I live on Oak Ridge Road, and you said that they're tweaking or making adjustments as they're building. Is there anything that they're going to adjust, that all the water that's coming off of their property goes onto Oak Ridge Road, runs down all the bottom, and this morning it was a sheet of ice? Now granted, they did put ice, they put salt on it, but people go to work before they come to work.
We had some follow-up discussion later in the afternoon, Jason, after we met this morning. So we did contact the construction manager up there. They at least they told us that they've identified the problem and have corrected it. So they don't think we're going to see water on the road.
It's been going on since they started building. They put those great big green
pipes, yeah. Yeah. Well, we're gonna stay on them, because we certainly don't want, to see an unsafe condition out there. So we have, our guys are gonna be up there. I mean, Jason's guys are on site, and we also, now that we're aware of that problem, we'll be on site as well, and we'll do whatever we can to get the water off the road.
Okay, well, I'll be back if you don't fix it.
Thanks, Sue.
Thank you, Sue.
And additionally, the Conservation District inspects that site as well because there is an MPDS permit on the property. So they monitor it from an erosion and sedimentation control standpoint, which does involve the runoff. As you noted, we have inspectors there on a weekly basis. We noted in our reports, and we've corrected a few of those items as well. So we will follow up and keep an eye on it.
Thanks, Jason. Any other public comment?
My name is Bill Culp. I live in Hastings, and I want to thank Mr. Barrett for coming out and taking a look at our curb cuts.
Oh, great.
And I guess the only thing I wanted to add to that is that not only are there problems with the actual ones that are built, but there's also many places where they should be, but they're not. And I'm not sure if you guys had a chance to take a look at that or not. But given our focus on active transportation, I think it's probably a good idea to, is there anything we can do to add to the process, some kind of scrutiny for, do the sidewalks actually meet requirements that are being built? I also came prepared to talk a bit about a development that was going up on Hickory Grade Road here, but I guess it dropped off the agenda. My comment was really about, they asked for dispensation to not put sidewalk along Hickory Grade Road, and they said, well, why are we doing, active transportation and then granting a request not to put the sidewalk in? So I just wanted to say, I hope the next time they appear on the agenda that we put the sidewalk in. And then the final thing, I'm coming in here in the end, so I probably didn't hear the explanation, but I did see in the Park and Recs report that we're adding attendance for the splash pad. And I'm just wondering why we need that in a time of adding, tax increases, and we should be tightening our belts. In Pittsburgh, my daughter lives, and our granddaughters go to the splash pads in Beachview and in Brookline. They don't have attendance, and they work just fine. So just curious about that.
Do you want to?
Yeah, so this year, there was quite a few incidents where it was like kind of unsafe conditions where parents weren't necessarily watching their children, and climbing and running and food and animals like on the splash pad. But also in the budget, you'll see that there is a line item for both revenue, because also the attendant might, we're planning to have them run a concession stand to sell water, prepackaged like pop or like chips and things like that. So to kind of offset that cost and have them do something else while they're up there. But I just think for safety reasons, it's important to have an attendant there.
Yeah, thanks for speaking. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Bill. Any further public comment? Anything the board wants to add? Make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
8:23.